We'll skip over the great chapter, chapter 17, where David kills the giant. And the folk song is written, Saul has slain his thousands, David his 10,000s. And now Saul really is troubled. Here's this young upstart of a shepherd who's killed a giant that Saul wasn't courageous enough to take on. And the people are loving David, this young hero of the land. And verse 8 of chapter 18, go there, begins the process of brokenness in David's life. Watch, 18:8. Saul became very angry. The saying displeased him. They've ascribed to David 10,000s, to me they have ascribed thousands. You will work with people who will compare. And they will see you as a threat. They will be suspicious of you. Your giftedness will work against you, especially if you are capable in areas where they are not and they hold a superior position. You got the picture. What more can he have but the kingdom? Remember, it's in the back of Saul's mind. The one statement he didn't want anybody to know about, but he's living with it. Look at verse 10. Look at the verb in the middle of the verse. He raved in the midst of the house while David was playing the harp with his hand. Verse 11, Saul hurled a spear at him. Remarkable. Verse 12, Saul was afraid of David. Verse 13, Saul removed him from his presence. Verse 15, he dreaded him. Saul is now becoming a case. H.G. Wells has an interesting line as a writer. One of his characters named Mr. Polly, Wells writes, he was not so much a human being as a civil war. Saul has become his own civil war. He's paranoid. He's suspicious. He is angry. He is unable to sleep. He's raving. David is dodging spears more than once. I took the time to mark and read in my Bible in these 3 chapters. He even plans to give David one of his daughters. Before you get impressed with that, this is a bad woman he's going to give to David. And verse 21, Saul thought, I will give her to him that she may become a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Look, he's even hoping the enemies of Israel will wipe out this young whippersnapper. And if he doesn't, at least his new wife will make his life miserable enough to want to take it. Verse 22, speak to David secretly. So now there's secrecy. Into verse 25, Saul planned to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. Verse 29, Saul was even more afraid of David. Saul was David's enemy continually. Maybe you haven't lived long enough to have an enemy like that. Thank God if you have never known such a thing. Some enemies track you and stalk you. They hate you whether you're there or not. Their goal is to make your life miserable, is to ruin or weaken your ministry. Their hope is to put you down and watch you fall and deceptively maneuver and manipulate things to make sure that happens. This is Saul in David's life. Verse 19, Saul told Jonathan, verse 1 of chapter 19, Saul told Jonathan his son and all his servants to put David to death. How about that? Talk about distracted. He's now telling his own boy, you make sure there's a hitman that finishes him off. Verse 9 tells the story of another spear. Verse 10 says Saul tried to pin David to the wall with the spear. Saul sent messengers to David's house to watch him in order to put him to death. What am I doing? I am deliberately staying on it and staying on it like the physician puts his finger on the point of pain and presses and says, does that hurt? And when you say it does, they never back off. They push harder. And that's what Saul's doing. That hurt? Now, you haven't felt anything yet. He's going to get David out of his life. What David can easily forget is that Saul is the tool being used by God to prepare him to king it, so that he will not be a Saul replacing Saul. I've been engaged in 5 ministries in my life of some length. In 3 of the 5 ministries, I've had savages who had as their goal to make my life miserable. I've also had individuals not involved in those ministries apart from those 5 places of service who for some reason chose to look with suspicion on my life. So I speak with some sense of knowledge in this. There was a time in my life when I would fight and work hard at vindicating myself through a process of years and the dregs of painful experiences. I have learned that I am unqualified to do that. Furthermore, I do not learn when I am busy about defending myself. It also distracts me from my calling, which is all part of the enemy's plan. It's easy to forget all of that when spears are coming your way. David had a question, this man continues to write. What do you do when someone throws a spear at you? Does it not seem odd to you that David did not know the answer to this question? After all, everyone else in the world knows what to do when a spear is thrown at them. Why, you pick up the spear and you throw it right back. When someone throws a spear at you, David, just wrench it right out of the wall and throw it back. Absolutely, everyone else does that. You can be sure. And in doing the small feat of returning thrown spears, you will prove many things. You are courageous. You stand for the right. You boldly stand against the wrong. You are tough and can't be pushed around. You will not stand for injustice or unfair treatment. You are the defender of the faith, the keeper of the flame. You are the detector of all heresy. You will not be wronged. All of these attributes then combine to prove that you are also a candidate for kingship. Yes, perhaps you are the Lord's anointed after the order of King Saul. There is also a possibility that some 20 years after your coronation, you will be the most incredibly skilled spear thrower in all the realm, and most assuredly, by then, quite mad.